Hi, and welcome to the third series of the Fancy a Brew podcast, talking about adventure, pushing your boundaries, and chasing dreams of underwater exploration. The podcast is supported by Dive Life Scuba Diving Centre, the one-stop shop for all your recreational and technical dive gear and training needs, boasting a 5-star service and their own in-house gas blending and equipment servicing department. For more information, take a look at their website, divelife.co.uk, or on Instagram and Facebook. In this series, I'm going to be chatting to some of the divers I've met along my scuba dive adventures in the last couple of years, ranging from boat skippers, stunt performers, and underwater explorers. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, grab yourself a brew, sit back, and enjoy this week's episode. All right then, so Angus Hosking, welcome to Fancy a Brew podcast. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yes, I'm all right, mate. It's my birthday tomorrow, so that's me.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's me done now. So I'll have a brew with you now. I've got my niece's birthday in a couple of days, so I'm gonna wrap her presents, and then that's me now for a week. I don't know what we're doing, where we're going, but I'm gonna chill out, mate, and I don't know. Hopefully, it's not gonna snow like it's forecast tomorrow, so we'll see.
Right. A week off sounds great.
I know. So yeah, give us a bit of a spiel about you, mate. Who are you, and why have I got you on, and what we're going to talk about?
So about 3 years ago, me and a friend, we started. We were both water sports instructors. We then started to go in the water together and have a look under the jetties just to see if there was anything. Maybe it was because we'd dropped a key from a boat, or a customer had somehow dropped something off the jetty. So we just got in because we thought it wouldn't. It would just be really easy to find. Very quickly, we found out that wasn't the case, and found out there was a lot more down there than just the item that they had lost.
Yeah.
And it all stemmed from there pretty much. It went from diving just that location to diving all over the whole of Windermere, to then diving other lakes in the Lake District, looking at doing a course to be able to learn more about freediving, and pretty much trying to improve the area that we live in, because litter is such a huge thing in Windermere and all of the lakes in the Lake District.
I don't really know where to go with this because obviously we spoke before, like before we'd started this now, and there's loads of avenues I can go straight down, and it's like, well, where did it all stem from? Who sort of inspired you then to take like a couple of fins and actually go free diving? Was there a pivotal moment that went free diving's for me?
So for me personally, like ever since I can really remember, I've always wanted to be working in the outdoors.
Yeah.
And every time I go in or around water, I find peace being underneath it, not on the surface. I find it so nice and silent underneath. And I've tried scuba diving and I love it, but there's a different kind of thing that's
Get it, yeah.
You feel so much more relaxed, I feel, when you're holding your breath.
Liar. It's killing me, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, like I just said to you, is I've got a free diving course booked for, when is it now? I think it's middle of May. It's with Andy Torbit down at Porthkerris Divers, and we'll get like a 2.5 minutes breath hold certificate or whatever at the end of it. So that's why it links really well to this podcast, because you know everyone I've spoke to and everything I've learned through doing this podcast has brought me to where I'm sat today, and you being one of them. So like we said, having Paul Rose on very early on, and he talked about cleaning up the Lake District and around the water, and the trouble and strife he went to with the amount of litter that he managed to bring out and what to do with it. I think that's how you were sort of inspired as well to start cleaning up. You know him, don't you? Because he lives local as such. So,
well, we only heard of him after we'd started, actually.
Right.
So it was quite strange. Like we got into it, and then people started telling us, being like, "Oh, there used to be a cleanup a good couple of years ago," and we were like, "Was there?" We had no idea, because I'm only 22. I can't remember how many years ago it was now that Paul Rose did this cleanup, but I really can't have been old. So it came to us as quite a surprise, but we were so pleased that it had been done in the past.
Yeah.
but it's just a progressive thing that's continued to got worse and worse.
Yeah. We did that dive on, sure it's Windermere. I'm trying to think of the hotel now, what it's called. And you park at the car park on like the south side of it. And we got in,
Yeah.
we were looking for some wreck. And there was just tons of litter that you wouldn't expect to be there. You're like builder's waste. It's like 100 steps down. So it's a mission anyway to get down. And it's just horrendous, the amount of crap. There was tyres and silicon tubes and like, which builder has bothered to walk all the way down them steps just to wang in that when there's an actual bin on the car park?
I think I know the hotel you actually mean, because I dove there straight off the jetty. It's about 10-12 meters,
Yeah,
and then it really
is,
quickly shelves off very fast. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called,
No.
but it's very interesting there. I was there last summer, and there was just litter everywhere.
Nuts in it, but we ended up finding the wrecks. So if you do any research into them, you basically you go off where that jetty is, but you need to swim south to the next jetty down, which is way, it'll take you 10 minutes swim. Not with your fins on, because they're about 15 foot long, your fins, aren't they? But you get a bit further down and they're around that next jetty, so it's a bit.
Okay.
The description of where they are is ambiguous, but yeah, you need to go a lot further down. And they're only in like 10, 15 meters of water, so they're not, but they're only like rowing boats or little topper type things. They're nothing like, the Mary Celeste or like the Titanic or anything like that. They're nothing worth going finding.
There's a couple of interesting ones in Windermere. There's a couple of, from what I know of, I think there's one off Lowood that's a sailing boat that still had its sails up, and there was it was cool. One of the scuba divers that I knew from there had seen it, and he tried to tell us where it was, but we just couldn't find it. But it was interesting.
You've not got like the longevity of being able to just cut around for ages and then come back up, have you, when you found it? You've got to be up and down, and before you know it, you might not be on the same spot.
It's very, very hard to know that you're definitely on the pinpointing exactly where you need to be.
Yeah. So I noticed you've got a GoFundMe page to help fund a lot of the work and the video footage that you do of it, and obviously there's quite a lot of kit and equipment that's involved in what you do. And you've done really well, haven't you? You've done like $4.5 grand when I looked. That's immense.
Yeah, it's been obviously over 3 years now.
Yeah.
And being able to fund the kit is hard at the end of the day. And obviously transport, getting to places, because it ain't cheap at the end of the day.
No.
The fins, the wetsuits, the metal detectors, the weights, and obviously because of the type of diving that we're doing, we're not just simply free diving. Like it's you're around stuff that's sharp. You end up tearing a suit or tearing your socks or tearing a glove, and unfortunately then it's pretty useless. So I've tried to look into things that are a bit more durable. So I've looked into Kevlar style gloves to try and minimize that cost. But yeah, it's been brilliant to just get the support.
I would have been overwhelmed. I've done a bit of fundraising, but purely for charity, not to help fund me do something charitable. But anything that people can be bothered putting their hands in their pockets and help you for is pretty good. But that's for 3 years worth of work. I've not raised that in 10 years of fundraising for charities. So cheers, mate. Well done.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my brew.
Gutted you not brought a brew now. You see me slurping mine. Did you ever watch that guy? He's from America. Yeah. Did you ever watch that guy in America? I think he's D Almighty or something like that on YouTube, and he's pulling stuff out of rivers that are like 2 foot deep. That you could literally, when you drop it in, you could probably reach it. I always thought that he's putting stuff in there himself. He's making that much money off. He's probably just buying half a dozen GoPros and slinging them in and going finding them. Because it's crystal clear and it's not very deep where he's going, so you could probably just jump in off your boat and find what you've just lost. But the stuff you're finding, a lot of the time, I agree. Yeah, the stuff you're finding is clearly stuff that people have definitely threw in. But what has surprised you the most that you found that you're like, wow?
that I've been asked to find, or that I've just came across?
Either. I mean, I'd go. It's going to be that massive engagement ring you found would be the one you were asked.
Ooh,
But
there's a lot of things that I've been asked to find that have really surprised me that I've been asked to find. Yeah, engagement rings. We're probably over 10 engagement and wedding rings now,
yeah,
that people have asked us to, or myself to find. And with finding those, I'm not joking, you are metal detecting with your eyes closed on the bottom, because having your eyes open makes no difference because you can't see a thing.
yeah. Well, I've dived a couple of the lakes, and they're
But other times,
silty. They're just horrible, aren't they? And it's like diving in I might as well be in this brew, to be fair, because
yeah,
it's
you'd see just as much.
yeah,
Yeah, it's, there's some places that are better, obviously, than others in the
yeah,
lakes, but like Ullswater is incredible, very, very clear, very cold though,
mm,
and like Wastwater. But Windermere is, you're diving in pea soup, like you really are just hoping and praying that you land on exactly where you need to be.
yeah. So go on then. What is the most incredible thing you found then?
I think it was finding someone's prosthetic leg for them.
No way. What was it, like a
Yeah,
blade
they
thing, like a
lost it
posh
on
one?
the. It was like a day-to-day use one, but it was obviously custom for her, and well, I dread to think how much it actually cost, but yeah, I got it back for her, and the day that we found it for her was actually her birthday, so she was
Mint.
very pleased.
Yeah. Well, when we talked before about Paul Rose, he'd said he'd done this massive clean, like you said, a few years before, and he had a nightmare getting rid of all rubbish. I mean, he did have about 500 people helping him on the same day or the same weekend or whatever, and they had tons and tons of it. Which some of it they used for some art exhibition and made some like wave type thing out of all the plastic bottles. But he was left with
Mm,
tons, and it ended up costing him to scrap it all because the council were like,
it's hard.
"Nah, I'm not helping." So how'd you go on for some of the stuff? Do you just
So this is what's been difficult over the time. So throughout the time that we've been trying to clean up certain places, we've now got a bit of a contact with the national park because they can organize collection for things. So if we chat to them and then say we're gonna do this, and it's not
yeah,
going to be like huge scale, but it's going to be big enough that it's going to look good for you, it's going to look good for us, and if you could help us out, that'd be great.
yeah,
Um, and normally they would reach out and say, yeah, no problem. If you leave it at X location, we'll collect it for you within the day, and that works. If it's not the case, and we just have to haul it out ourselves, we have
mm.
like old coffee bean sacks,
All right,
because they're really, really tough and durable.
yeah,
And you can put anything and everything in those, and they don't rip, they don't anything. So you can put tons of broken glass in there and just carry it. Yeah, it's heavy, but you know you're not going to lose any of it, and you can get rid of it properly.
mm. Cool. I've never thought of using them.
And
I,
that's pretty much how it's had to be.
yeah, because we always have these plastic netted bags that you can find anywhere. But I should imagine what you're talking about. I have had a few of them. Like our coal gets delivered in it and things like that. So it'd be absolutely perfect.
They're great with that.
Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
the amount of times we
They're
could go on a
ideal
litter
because they're,
pick.
they're so tough.
Yeah. And you could just fold one of them up in my dry suit pocket, dead easy. And if it's not going to rip, the amount of crap you do find on a dive, it's just easier to collect it than. I don't want to leave it, but I don't always have the means to take it with me either. So it's kind of like, what do you do?
Yeah, definitely. It's always a really difficult thing of weighing up what you can take away with you.
Mm,
And I think it was about a year and a half between us finding one thing, which was an old racing buoy, which was like metal inner, plastic outer.
yeah.
We found it, had obviously no means of getting it up because we don't have lifting gear of any kind.
Mm,
Um, and what we did instead was about sort of a year after we found it, a year and a half ish, that we organised for about 4 or 5 of us to go down, dig around it to be able to get it so the silt didn't hold onto it so tight. And then we tried lifting it, didn't work, had to get a couple of ropes on it so it actually would move, and we got that up in the end.
nice.
I think it just takes so much planning to be able to remove
Yeah.
big items.
That's a nice little segue into what you were trying to do last summer that got unfortunately canned, didn't it? Because of like people saying about health and safety and stuff. Do you want to elaborate more on that rather than me talking? It's about you, this, so you tell us.
Yeah, so we were going to organise a nice big cleanup, similar to what Paul Rose did. Probably not as big scale, but we were looking at probably about 30, 40 divers, excluding another probably about 10 to 15, maybe 20 free divers as well.
Yeah.
We were going to do a cleanup of a certain area on Windermere.
Yeah.
But basically, we advertised it and got tons of people obviously wanting to do it. And a couple of people started pointing out that it was gonna start hitting problems with your now starting to host an event, which it wasn't, because no one was paying to be there. There was nothing like that. Now since then we have had a chat with, I think it's the superintendent of I can't remember what we got the details of someone, and basically they got in touch with us and we've discussed it, and they said there's no problem with it. You won't hit an issue.
Yeah. Is
you
this like the
reorganize
police?
it, so we're looking at that.
Is this like the police you're on about?
No, it's regarding diving.
Oh, right.
And I'm trying to think of who it actually was. But I do have an email from them stating that we could run.
Right.
And that's been great news to read.
Yeah.
Just trying to see if I still have their contact anywhere, because it was quite a while ago. Obviously now it's been a bit of time.
Well, there is like a governing body. I remember when COVID was dying out, you know, like the first couple of lockdowns, and we started to get back in the water.
Definitely.
And there is a British governing body. So there's loads of different agencies that obviously teach diving, and someone from each, like a representative from each, sits on this governing body, and they decide what's right and wrong between them, and then they all sort of stick to the same protocols or whatever. So I guess it's just whoever's like the chair of that or whatever.
But it's good. I think that's who it was. Yeah, I've just found a few little bits about it, but I can't find the actual main thing that I had on my email. Right. But pretty much it was the superintendent of the governing body that that basically ensures that kind of diving, like commercial diving. And he said, you're not doing it commercially. I understand why people are telling you that you're opening yourself up to risk, but that's not the case, because it's not, you're not organizing events.
Yeah.
So there's hope for this year that this could happen.
Because the day before, I think it was, we were coming out, we dived anyway. I'm sure we did Ullswater that day. So we dived anyway. But I'm sure the day before, didn't you do a massive land clear up that went like perfectly well? And then the following day we were all going to get in the water at different places. No problem. Strange, isn't it, how this...
Yeah, the land one was a bit hit and miss as well.
Really? Why?
Just people trying to report us to say that we were fly tipping.
What?
Even though we were cleaning up everything.
This sort of blame culture everywhere, isn't there? Everyone's got an opinion, and I mean, I see why people are worried, you know, if you're walking around with big bags of stuff, but it wasn't that way. Didn't you have signs and people have high vises on and all sorts of stuff, though?
We had loads of people there. We had at least 10 to 15 of us going along the side, and we ended up having the police called on us.
Wow.
We then got reported that we were fly tipping, and I said, well, it's already been fly tipped. We're now cleaning it up for you. So it was a mess, but we got it sorted, and we've got good contacts out of it, which has been good.
You can't beat a good network, though. If you've got a network of friends and colleagues and people you can call on, you world your oyster in it, because as long as you've got the right contacts in the right place, that is, you can do now what you've planned and dreamed about, and obviously make a bigger name for yourself. What do you need if someone's got the means to help you? What are you short of? What do you need?
Probably what I'm wanting to do now is continually expand the people that are able to help with this. And then throughout the spring and summer and autumn, what I want to do is organize more events, or not events, organize like more times where we can meet up as a group of friends, and then go and clean up, because it's something that I think a lot of people want to be involved in, but haven't really, like, they don't know about anything and anyone that's doing it. And then obviously a lot of people struggle to buy their kit. So what I'm wanting to do is maybe try and get different sizes in suits, so I can give them to people that I know, so that don't have suits, and they can use them, and then we can expand the people that can help.
Just have a quick look here. Hang on. What time is that? 24. Right. So you got spammed. Oh, you got not spammed. That's the wrong word. You got asked to talk at Kendal Mountain Festival. How was that? Because I can talk the hind legs off a donkey, but public speaking, I'm not a big friend of. How did you find it?
So I feel it was okay. I've been an outdoor instructor for about 6 or 7 years now, so I'm very used to like meeting new people and talking in front of big groups. It was still quite strange to sit at the front, in front of maybe 60, 70, 80 people maybe, and chat about what I like to do. It was quite strange that people were interested in that and that wanted to sit there for, I think, half an hour, if not a little bit longer. But I found it really interesting when they started to ask questions, because they obviously wanted to know more. Some people were asking how could they get involved. Others were asking, we were doing a cleanup later that day, then they wanted to help with that.
Nice.
And these were people that weren't local.
Really? Just come up for the festival sort of thing. See, I'm the same.
Yeah,
I've been an instructor in many guises for probably best part of 15 years. So that group of people, whether they're paying to be in front of me or through work they're told to be in front of me, I'm completely fine with them. And a lot of them are generally my peer group. So it's not people I don't know. But I remember having to give a speech after running some event one night, and I just, my language is terrible. I started using like the F word as like punctuation and stuff because I was just nervous. And it's terrible. But then when you do have a crowd, whether you sat at a table at a function and you start talking about what you do, and you see people just all sort of gravitate and turn around and listen, and all you're doing is talking about your day to day, which really for yourself, it's just a norm, isn't it? It's just like not that exciting. It's exciting, that's why you do it, but it's become the norm. But people are like, what? You do what? And how can I do it? It's weird, isn't it?
Oh, the amount of people that turn around and be like, oh, so you've got tanks, right? And I'm like, no, we don't.
2 big ones in here, mate.
Yeah, they're always thinking that you're like, oh, you must be scuba divers. You can't do anything else.
Really?
I'm like, well, if we were scuba divers, we'd be probably spending triple the price of what we are already.
Oh God, don't even get me started. Fuel prices have gone up. The cost of dive gear's gone up. Flipping heck.
Yeah, everything's gone up right now, but dive gear has skyrocketed.
Well, let's get on to the actual diving then, because this is what, obviously I knew all the other stuff because we've spoken in the past and I follow you and stuff on Instagram, but free diving is totally new to me. I'm aware of what it is. It's snorkeling for people with big lungs, where I'm from.
Pretty much.
But what is the main difference?
Fancy swimming.
Yeah. What is the main difference then?
The main difference is pretty much you're having to train not just to be able to relax whilst you're in the water, but also be able to relax whilst being really like uncomfortable, because holding your breath for a long time isn't something that's comfortable. It's pretty much, most people say that it can be really quite, you do not, it tries to tell you to not relax. Your body is literally telling you, I want to breathe. It doesn't need to, but it wants to breathe. Because your oxygen, you've got more than enough of it. Your body's just telling you that you've got too much CO2. The general difference is, it's just you're going to have to get used to not being that comfy all the time.
So the wetsuits, is there much difference in them? than just if I went and bought a normal, let's say a 5mm or 3mm, and compared them, is there much of a difference between the two?
So a standard, like normal water sports or diving wetsuit is going to have normally a nylon lining, which means there's a bigger gap between the neoprene and your skin. Whereas with freediving suits, there's no nylon lining. You've just got straight neoprene. So you do have to put like either soap or conditioner or something like that to be able to get into your suit because it sticks to you. So the amount of water that can be in that space is then reduced even further.
Okay.
So your body doesn't have to put in as much effort to be able to heat up the water that's in your suit. And that then means that your body can obviously save energy for when you're holding your breath. And that's one of the differences. The other differences are going to be that because of that, the nylon not being there, it's more flexible. You don't feel as restricted. Obviously, 99% of freediving suits also have a hood as well.
What, like built into the top
in the temperature that we dive in. Yeah.
Right.
And they're normally split in half, so you've normally got an upper and a lower half. So like a really long pair of trousers that comes up to about here.
Yeah.
And then you've got the top half that goes over your head, and that'll clip underneath through your legs.
Is that beaver tail thing they call it? Is that what they call it?
That's the one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've got an open water swimming. I've got a couple of open water swimming suits now, and they're smooth on the outside. Now I'd assume that's for a lack of friction, so you're more aquadynamic or whatever. But if I don't cut them, I never have long nails. But if I don't cut them, I'm frightened of ripping that suit. I bet you have the same dramas, don't you?
Yeah, I've ripped suits. I've forgotten to bring conditioner along to be able to get into my suit, so I've tried to work it on and get like tiny tears. But the same with the person that I used to dive with the exact same thing. He caught his nails on the inside of the suit. When you're trying to take it off, it's quite hard to take off. And you'll just get little needle holes pretty much everywhere.
Especially kneeling up bottom over where you are. It's full of glass and crap and that. You're just going to get wrecked, isn't it?
Yeah, this is why we don't go with... we have to have some kind of coating on the outside of the suit. So we normally go for actually spearfishing suits because they're built to be a bit more tough than a freediving.
Assuming you're kneeling on coral reef and stuff, waiting for something. Yeah, fair one.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got to ask. I know it's a proper knobhead question to ask. How long can you hold your breath for?
So last summer, when I was obviously diving loads, I was at around 4 minutes, roughly, just a bit over.
Yeah.
Throughout the winter, not had a load of time to train really. So I'm now between about 3 and 3.5 minutes. I'm picking up my training again now because I'm reducing my workload because I'm going to obviously be doing a lot more diving. So I've let go of one job and the sole focus is diving this spring summer autumn.
Cool. I've seen you just got a new GoPro as well. So you're going to be like trying to push out more content.
Yes, that is the plan. There's potential that I'm going to be trying to make a bit more of a video of the day when we're going to be doing cleanups because people are seeming that they're quite interested in it.
Well, that guy in America we talked about before, he's got like, last time I looked, which is a while ago, he's got like 11 million followers. So there's definitely a market for the kind of
100%
thing that you're finding. It's just, I think he's so good, perhaps because he's been doing it for 10 years, but he's the way he comes across as well, he's very genuine, and you have that about you. You know, your reasons for doing it have never once have you mentioned any monetary or remuneration. It's all been about where you live, making that environment cleaner. So I think if he comes across well, and you do on this, I think you've every reason to make that sort of content what people would want to watch.
Yeah, that is the plan for potentially this year. I'm looking at being able to get the editing software. I probably will use something that's free for the time being, and if it picks up and people really like it, then I could invest into getting some different.
Are you on a MacBook or are you on a PC?
I'm on an iMac.
Yeah. So, well, I started off with Movie Maker because it's free, And then the next step up for like 300 or 400 quid, I forget what it was now, is exactly the same, but it's Final Cut Pro. So it's exactly what you've got used to using, but with more, professional stuff that you can use with it. So it's really the only time I needed to step up was when I had a lot more footage. The computer or the program just kept crashing on me. So I was like, I've got to go up now.
Yeah, there's Lightroom and things like that, but I don't think that would.
No, I've not really
I think
used
that's
it.
just simply photos Lightroom, but
Yeah.
Adobe Premiere.
I suppose each their own. If you find one that you're used to, like I said, because I had a Mac or got a Mac, Movie Maker was on there, so it was like, well, why pay for anything else? It's there, and it's easy, isn't it? Right. So I've booked this course. I think it's with SSI, and it's like level 1. And I don't really know what they're going to try and do. I've got no experience with freediving, like at all. So do I need to? They're going to supply all the kit, but if I'm going to take this up seriously, what sort of things should I be looking for? What kind of training preparation can I do before I go down on this course, or should I just go with an open mind, no previous experience, and just see what they do?
There's always stuff you can do, but what they're going to tell you is probably exactly what they would do, because it's very different for other people. It's never the same thing that you're going to be able to do. So pretty much what I mean by is, for example, some people do a final couple of breaths just before they do their breath hold. That is 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, about 3 or 4 times over. For me, if I do that, I feel lightheaded because I feel that is hyperventilating. My body doesn't like it, so I have to do it even slower than that, because otherwise I'm probably going to increase my likelihood that I'm going to pass out whilst underwater.
You don't want that, do you? Deep water blackout? No thanks.
It's not exactly. So I would. A lot of people think that they need to hyperventilate before they hold their breath. If you do that, you can hold your breath longer, 100%. You're probably going to feel more comfortable whilst doing it, but you're literally increasing your blackout by about 5-10 times. It brings the time closer to when, let's say you hold your breath to here, the blackout's here. Normally, you'd hold your breath to about here, and your blackout would be way over here.
Right.
Because it makes it more uncomfortable when you breathe normally. And that's what I was going back to, is you're going to be uncomfortable through your breath hold, especially when you first get into this kind of thing. If you just simply hold your breath as you are sat here now, or in bed, or watching a film, you hold your breath just in the middle of that. You haven't done any kind of breathe up to it, and that's a better thing than it would be to try and guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because I can sit on the couch, just mind my own business for 10 minutes, and then go start, and I can do 1 minute 20 without moving. But what I've got to do is, as part of my swimming assessment for this British Stunt Register, I've got to do 400 meters crawl, and then straight into a 25-meter breath hold, like length, distance, 20 seconds out the water, and then another 25 meters. But that's quite hard after just doing 400 meters. That's 16 lengths of front crawl in 10 minutes, which I generally do in 8, which is stupid, really, because I've got 10, but that's my pace, there's a lot of jogging pace, So that's one of the reasons I wanted to get on this course, because I thought, well, if I can increase my breath hold underwater, feeling uncomfortable and moving. I know you sometimes pull yourself down a rope and that, but you're still moving, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%.
I thought, well, I might get closer to it. So I've got a length and a half now with that 20 seconds after, a bit of exertion. But, I mean, have you got any tips other than the practicing the build-up breaths?
I would look into, and what I do is I use O2 and CO2 tables.
Right.
They're two different things, and you're not ever going to train on the same day. You're going to train O2 one day, and the next day you can train CO2. I probably realistically wouldn't do it more than like each, maybe 2, maybe one of them 3 times a week. You've got to have your days off too, to obviously let your body relax and recover a little bit.
Yeah.
But pretty much the O2 tables are, they're training you to just simply hold your breath, having the same recovery time, but increasing the time that you hold your breath.
Right.
And then CO2 tables are, you are reducing the time that you get recovery, and you're leaving the time of which you're holding your breath the same. So CO2 tables would be let's say I'd hold my breath for, let's say 2 minutes. And we'll say that we start off 2 minutes on the recovery. It then, after you've done that first 2 minute hold, you'll recover for 1 minute 45, and then you'll hold for 2 minutes. Then you'll keep on going down to 1:30 recovery and 2 minute hold, and keep on going all the way down to about 30 seconds of recovery. And that is then teaching your body to deal with high levels of CO2.
I've never heard
and
of
then the
before.
opposite is your, they're very interesting, and they're worth doing.
So where do I go picking them up?
Personally, like, obviously you're not just going to always copy someone else, but for the time being, you can take what the style of an O2 or a CO2 table will be online. They're pretty standard. There's a couple of apps on like the Google on the Google Play Store or on Apple as well, and both of them, the apps will almost tell you what you can do. Especially sometimes you can input what your max hold is, and that helps. But normally, once you get into it further, you'll then just start to make up your own table.
All right. So you develop your own sort of program that suits how you train and when you train and things like that.
Yeah.
What sort of level have you built up to now, as in qualification, if you have one at all? Is it just picked it up?
I've done my PADI level, PADI freediver level 1. I'm planning on doing. No, it's not PADI. It's not PADI. It's a different qualification actually. I did mine with Apneists UK. What the actual qualification is called?
It's all right. I've wrote 42 minutes down. We'll edit it.
I found my qualification really, really useful because it taught me a lot of the things that I didn't know previously, and it opened my eyes to the fact that I can reduce risks even further by doing certain things, and that'll make a big difference in like worrying about, oh, what if I black out this dive? But the main thing is always having a buddy with you. You're never diving by yourself. You're never doing your breath holds by yourself at home. Like if I'm doing my breath holds, I'll do them around my partner. If you see me black out, it ain't fun. But it's one of those things that if you did it by yourself, it's a much bigger of a problem.
How'd you go bringing somebody round from that? Do you carry on breathing when you've actually just passed out?
Yeah, normally you keep on breathing. When you're doing it, I passed out on land and I passed out underwater.
Oh God! Right, let's stick with the on land first then.
Passing out on land, which was you just feel like you woke up again.
Right.
It's really, really strange. You just don't even think that anything's happened. You keep on breathing. Normally, any sort of receptors all around here, just you blow on them or taps on like pressure points or anything like that. Normally would wake people up fairly quickly. It might be that you've not got enough blood in your system, like going towards your brain, so you've blacked out because of that, or like oxygen towards your brain. But normally your body will just start breathing because you've consciously been holding your breath.
Yeah.
Whereas the difference is underwater, your body it knows not to breathe.
All right.
So when I passed out underwater, or sometimes that's the case, when I passed out underwater, I didn't breathe. My partner just said that I was stumbling. I was trying to stand myself up, and then I didn't. And then out of nowhere, I just stood straight up again. That does not normally happen. Normally, you would need to be getting that person out. You'd need to get their mask off and blow all around where their eyes are, because that's all the receptors to be able to tell you that you're out of water, that you're in a safe environment, and you can breathe now.
Is that what they call the mammalian reflex or something? Have you heard of that term?
Yeah, I think it's potentially something like that.
Because I'd done some research a while ago when we first booked this course, and where I was struggling to hold my breath, when I went swimming. And a lot of people were saying you need to wet your face, and they didn't really explain the mammalian reflex, but it was something about like when we are in like babies before we're even born and we're in like a fluid sac, we know not to breathe. But as we then get dry and we come out from the womb as such, you then know to go. And equally, you can throw a baby straight back in the water, and it won't drown unless you
They
leave
know
it there
what
for
to
too
do.
long. Yeah.
They
But
know what to do.
I think it's something that we've kind of forgot, and this lad did a worse explanation than I've got of it. But if you're saying to blow all around here, it's in the same region. So maybe someone can put comments and say, yes, actually, Andy, it was the mammalian reflex that you were talking about, not just talking crap. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that it will be the case, but my brain is not thinking straight today.
Mate, you've had a busy day though, haven't you? So we're gonna have to hook up, mate, in the summer.
Always busy.
Once I've got my course done, I obviously it's something I will want to continue. It's not. It was never something on my sort of list of things to do, but it was my wife's, and actually I would like to take it on. You know, I don't like skill fade. You know, if you can get something done, why just let it drop? So we'll have to meet up definitely if you're doing a litter pick anyway, and meet up and
100%. We can get something organised.
just as long as you're not diving Hodge close, mate, because it's friggin' freezing.
I will not be diving Hodge close, nor will I ever dive Hodge close.
We took some gear there the other year. We dived it, went to the edge of the tunnel. It wasn't my time. I wasn't ready for going in that tunnel. I'm not qualified either, but a few of the lads who aren't did. They since now are qualified, but it was too cold for me. You know when you just get that. It's not today sort of feeling.
It's freezing in there.
Yeah, it's minging. But the stuff that's in there, I still can't work out how they've got vans and that in there. I know they threw them off the top, but there's like all sorts of vans and that in, and each their own. But it's too cold for me, that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I would. That's far too cold. Even now in the lake, I think I dove in Rydal, and that was about 7-8 degrees, and I was still like, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making some time in your day for us, mate. I know you've had a proper hectic day today, but I really appreciate you coming on. This is going to be the last one of the series for this year because,
awesome.
Much like you, I'm dead busy as well, and I've got loads of stuff planned. So I can't afford to spend an hour doing this and then another 3 hours editing it, and then all the other stuff that goes with it. I just don't have the time. And right, go on, get back to your day, mate. Thanks very much, and I'll no doubt speak to you soon. No problem. I appreciate it, mate. Cheers. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
So that brings us to the end of the episode. Don't forget to take a look at Dive Life's website and social media channels, as they always have some great deals available, and you can use promo code ATND10 at the checkout to get some money off any non-discounted items. For more information on this episode, take a look at the description or follow us on Instagram for all the latest news and upcoming releases. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one.